Hello everybody, hope you all are doing good out there. Thank you for joining me in this knife review. Today we're going to be looking at a great small EDC knife. It's one of them that if you're looking for a knife that you can easily fit in your fifth pocket and you like a two-bladed knife, this is one of the best knives out of any that you could come across here. Now, I've got the knife here in this pouch, and it is going to be a case knife. So this is our knife we're looking at. This is a Case Mini Swell center jack. Commonly they're called a Coke bottle knife. And the reason they're called that is because the handle has a slight point on each side, right here in the middle, so it kind of looks like a glass bottle. And that's why it's called a Coke bottle. Now these were Case's vault pattern knife for 2022. You can see that right here on this tang stamp. This one is in stainless steel, and this is in Case's BoneStag. Before we dive into it, let's get the measurements of this knife, then we'll get the weight, then we'll do an overview of the knife, and then after that we'll compare it to some other popular and common knives. And then I'm going to explain why I think it's a good everyday carry. First thing to notice is that this knife is right at 3 inches closed. So it's around 3 inches closed, which is a good size if you're looking for a smaller knife to carry around. And then the cutting edge on your main blade is going to come in at just under 2 1/8 of an inch long, the cutting edge itself. If you measure the kick down here, you'll have a little more length than that. Let's go ahead and measure this knife real quickly here. It's not a real heavy knife. Now this version is going to be heavier than a lot of the other handle options, simply because it's got this BoneStag on it. And BoneStag is a little bit thicker a lot of times. So it's 1.65 ounces. So that's a pretty good weight. It weighs just a little bit less than some single blades like the Mini Copper Lock and some knives as that. Let me pull the camera down here so we can zoom up on it and compare a little closer. Okay. You're going to get two blades. This is a jackknife. There you can see you've got a brass liner on either side of the blade. And this knife is going to have half stops. If you all don't know what it is, a half stop is when the knife blade clicks into position at a 90. Now, there are other kinds of styles, like this right here, where that it's smooth all the way open and smooth all the way closed. But this particular knife, the Mini Swell Center, is going to have some half stops. Now, some people really love half stops. I like half stops. Nevertheless, you can notice here, your main blade is going to be a clip point blade. And I think it's a really nice looking clip point blade. I like the design of it. It's got a nice point right ahead of the nail nick here. And it's got a nice swoop down. It's got a nice even edge going all the way back. And I like the shape of the handle. And when you compare the two, I think that it's a handsome looking knife. And I wish Case would make it in full-time production. As we said, it's a vault pattern, so they only made it for 1 year here recently, and that was 2022. But it's a great carry knife. It's big enough that I can almost get all my fingers on it. And I wear a large glove. But it's just got a great looking clip point on it. We'll do a comparison with some other knives here in a minute. Your secondary blade is going to be this little pin blade. Now this is kind of a beefy pin blade. You can see it's pretty thick. That's one thing, it's a whole lot thicker than the peanut. Also, you'll notice that the tip is right in the center from the best I can tell, so it's really like a spear point. It looks really good. It's a good useful blade. It's thick. Again, you're going to have your half stops. And both blades, when you've got them open, the handle feels very ergonomic in the hand in any position that you're going to hold it. The Coke bottle feels good, and that is using either blade. If you're using the pin blade, the main blade does not stick up far enough to put a hot spot on your hand while you're using it. It's still comfortable. Now, the number on this knife, the pattern number, is going to be 6.5225 and a half. Now, the 6.5 is a reference to this handle material, and this is known as BoneStag. Case takes a piece of bone and they work on it to make it resemble regular stag. Now, it don't look identical to regular stag, but it don't need to. I like the way it looks. Every BoneStag version you find is going to be different, and the sides are even going to vary from each other. This one, for instance, you can see it's got this yellow color. In real life, it's more tan than it is yellow. Then it lightens up, it goes to the right, and you have these grooves in the center here by the case shield. On the other side, you're going to have your darker over here and your lighter over to the left. And your grooves on this side are a lot deeper. And I think it's really handsome looking. They did a good job on it. Also, you can notice that there is a low spot right here around this pin. Also, notice how fat this is. This bone, it kind of bulges out down there in the center. It looks really nice. I'll tell you a story at the end, the story about getting this knife. Notice also you got 6.5, then you got 2. The 2 is referring to the fact that this is a 2-bladed knife. You can see it's got 2 blades, both open on one end. That makes it a jackknife. And also you'll notice that the pattern here is 25. 25 is a reference that this is a small swell center. And lastly, this one's going to say 25 and a half. To the best of my understanding, the half is a reference to the fact that this has a clip blade instead of some other kind of blade on it. Now, before I get into the story of how I got this knife, let's compare it to a few other popular knives and items. It's always helpful, I think, to compare a knife because when you see a picture on the internet, if you're going to buy it, you really have no idea the size of it. So if you compare it with some other popular or useful items, it can kind of give people an idea of the size of it. We'll start off with a full-size case trapper. This is the 54 pattern. You can see it's just a lot larger knife. This Coke bottle is a smaller knife than this trapper. Trapper's a great knife, though. I really like it. Yeah. If you notice the thickness, I believe the Coke bottle's a little thicker because of this stag. But, you know, if you get one of these Coke bottles in a yellow Delrin handle, it'll be a lot thinner, like this trapper. Another popular knife out there would be the 18 pattern Stockman's. I believe that's Case's most popular Stockman. And it's more of a medium-sized knife, and you can see it's bigger than this little swell center jack. Another one that would be a good comparison would be the Sodbuster, because lots of people have the Sodbuster out there, and it's a good work knife. And so you can see the size difference here. The Sodbuster is just, it's bigger, plus the Sodbuster is a single blade, and they are really just different style of knives. And then, lastly, for the knives, we'll compare it to the Peanut, which is probably what it's going to get compared to the most. It's probably going to get compared to the Peanut the most. You can see that its main blade is just a little bit longer than the Peanut's is. The other thing you're going to notice is the handle is a lot longer than the Peanut's. And if you look at the Coke bottle, the blade goes in a straight line with the handle from, all the way through it there, if you can see that. The Peanut's has a cant. See how it cants downward? And so that makes them look a little different, and that's going to make them feel a little different in the hand. But they both have the half stops, as we already said. And the Peanut has a half stop. Just like the mini Coke bottle. Your secondary blades on both these knives is going to be this little pin blade. But as we said, the Coke bottle has a lot beefier of a pin blade than the Peanut does. You can see the Peanut's tip's a little bit sharper. But there's a big difference in the thickness of the steel. Can you see the difference there? So that's the biggest difference. Again, they're both going to have your half stops. Most people, I think, who are looking for a small knife are probably going to end up buying the Peanut because it's so much more available. But if that Coke bottle was available, I think that Case would sell a whole bunch of them. I think there is plenty of room in the Case lineup for both of these knives, and I wish Case would bring back this mini swell center. Let's compare it to a few other popular items. This is a Leatherman Wave. I believe that's the most popular Leatherman up to date. Just to give you kind of an idea of the size here. Yeah, of course, you know, it's a small knife. But these two would complement each other. And I think that's probably about one of the best EDCs somebody could do would be have a Leatherman tool that they like, whichever version it might be. And then have a small Case traditional pocket knife. Because if you run into something you've got to cut that's a really hard or difficult task, you got your serrated blade, you know, like on this, a Wave. And you got your regular blade. And you can do your hard use with this. And then when you want to do something gentle or something more delicate, like cut up an apple, open a letter, dig out a splinter, whatever it is you're doing, this little knife's going to do a whole lot better than this will. Because you got this thin little blade stock. And this is so ergonomic for the hand. You cannot beat these little slip joints when it comes to ergonomics. And so there's plenty of room for somebody to carry both of these in an EDC. And if you was carrying both of these, or, you know, even if you're carrying the Peanut instead, you've got a good rounded EDC, I believe, for whatever you're needing. Y'all comment down in the comments below how you feel about that. What's some other common things? This is a Lamy Safari fountain pen. It's a great fountain pen. When I'm writing my sermons and so on, I do a lot of writing usually. And this is a great fountain pen if y'all are interested in fountain pens. The Lamy Safari is a simple fountain pen. It doesn't really have any frills, but I'll tell you, I can carry it around no matter what kind of work I'm doing. And I've never had one break, bust, or leak. They're a great pen and they write excellent. And lastly, we'll compare it to a Zippo. This is a full-size Zippo here. Just the regular classic Zippo. And this one right here has the bit set in it. If you haven't checked out the bit set, that's something to look for. You can find them for about $10 right now. It's an excellent little EDC tool with this bit set. I've got a video I'll put up on that soon. And then this is an Zippo Slim for comparison, size-wise. Now, as for the story of how I got this little knife, well, I have to specify when I say how I got this little knife. I had went to a pawn shop nearby. It's one that's a Case dealer, though. And they had lost the box for this knife. And this knife's 2022, and I got it last year. And so, they had it on the wrong box. And I pointed out to them that it was a wrong box, and they looked it over and said they didn't know how to price it. So I was just hoping they'd give me a price, and they quoted me a price. So I did not get a box with it, but the knife was brand new. But there was a catch. The knife had what looked like a crack going from this pin to the bolster. Really what it was a deep vein in the bone that went over. And it looked like a crack. But I think over time it would have really cracked through. It was a weak spot in the bone. And so I contacted Case about it. And they just sent me a brand new Coke bottle knife, identical to the one I'd sent off. Now, I know it's a different one because the grind on this blade was different. And also the spring tension's a little different. This one's a little snappier, and the other one had a little stronger of a pull. But that's the story as to how I got this one. Case has great customer service, and within reason, they treat their customers just excellent. Well, just drop them there, right, don't we? Nevertheless, they treat their customers excellent, and every time I've ever dealt with Case, it's just been a A++ experience. The bone also, on the first one I got, it was extremely fat right down here. I mean, it was like that wide. It was really, really wide. And that was interesting. I like the way the bone looks on this one better overall. But I got the knife for about half price because of the little crack in it and because it didn't have a box. And I contacted Case and they took care of it quick and in a hurry. Y'all comment down below, how do you feel about the little Coke bottle, especially when compared to the Peanut? If you're looking for a small knife and you find one of these, I think anybody would be completely satisfied with it. Thank you all for watching. You have a good day. and make sure you keep your knives sharp.